Now, one of the funniest things about this is making sure there's some content in the beginning of the video for anyone on the replay.
Right, because they joined right away.
Because they, yeah. I'm going to move even closer.
Okay.
Yeah, we got some peeps. All right. Hey, everybody, while we're waiting for people to pile up in here. Oh, man, Inception. Tell me where you're from. Look, Janina's in here. Right on. Hey, everybody. Hey, I love the Chicago SF. I'm right near you. I'm in SF right now, too. Bald Guy Greetings, representing San Francisco.
Bald Guy Greetings is in there?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I've been getting Bald Guy
such a
Greeting
legend.
cards for years.
LA, Austin, Palo Alto. What are we going to talk about? That's up to you guys. That's what we're going to talk about. Scottsdale. Where in SF? I'm where all the startups are, right here in Soma. The fancy companies are up on market, but the startups are keeping it real here. Okay, am I ready for Twitter earnings? That's for my other broadcast when I get to CNBC. Kayvon, the Iranian Godfather.
The Iranian Godfather.
Dude, you're a legend.
I don't know about that.
Are there any other Persians in here? Just throwing out Persian love to Kayvon.
Hashtag Persian.
All right, so we got a few hundred people in here. It's awesome. I wanted to start out by introducing Kayvon. So Kayvon, Kayvz on Twitter, is the co-founder and CEO of Periscope. He literally created this shit that we're all using right now.
Team effort.
It's a team effort, but somebody's got to inspire a team, and it's amazing. So he and his team built this thing. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's built and sold other companies. Hey, someone just said you look like John Stamos. I have a feeling you've gotten that before.
I have not heard that one before.
You've not heard that one before? It seems pretty
I've heard some
obvious.
other ones before, but not John Stamos.
I mean, a lot of my followers are from the Full House generation. So, but this guy built Periscope. A lot of people right now are saying thank you. I'm very grateful. This is a product I've wanted to exist for a long time. And he, oh hey, my pediatrician's here. Hey Jay.
You're a pediatrician or your kid's
My kid's
pediatrician?
pediatrician.
Okay.
I'm not as in touch with my own pediatrician anymore.
Different strokes for different folks. Introduce Scotch.
All right, so we got lots of questions coming in, but I just want to say really quick, this is something I have wanted to exist for a long time, and I know a lot of people have tried live video, and but it just seems like now things were falling into place. So let me just ask you, back to the origins of the company, like what inspired Periscope now? I mean, you've seen this area kind of littered with ruined companies who've tried to do live video, etc. But what came together to make this the right time, and that's led to the success of this company?
So I think there are a few things that make right now the right time for something like Periscope. One is just the sheer fact that something like the iPhone exists, or the Android for that matter. Just the hardware and software capabilities are at a point where you can actually do live video well in a way that you couldn't 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, the first Justin TV prototypes were literally like a computer and a backpack and like a mobile hotspot, and it worked, but it couldn't be mainstream the way that Periscope can be mainstream. The other is high-speed network connections. Like, forget about LTE or 4G, even if you're on a 3G connection, like that's enough bandwidth to do a decent quality live video broadcast. But then when you have LTE, when you have, the pervasiveness of Wi-Fi now, you can actually do the kind of stuff that we're doing in a way that just wasn't feasible before. And the other main one is push notifications. Like the fact that, over 500 people joined this broadcast within 10 seconds, I mean, that literally wasn't possible in a world where Justin TV existed, because you had to go find that Chris Sacca happened to be live right now. And you probably didn't even have Twitter as a distribution platform to do that. So I think those three together make the synchronicity that you need for a live video platform like Periscope be possible today.
Awesome. So it's, I mean, the notification platform is cool, as well as just the distribution of a Twitter, right? I mean, we never had a way to let everyone know, like, hey, this is what we're doing right now.
Right.
And so I think to create that kind of shared experience is what makes these things special. What I've been feeling, and I think one of the reasons why we get such emotional responses to Periscopes, is that it really does feel like we're all here sharing this moment right now. One of the things that you told me early on is that you really focused intently on the latency and making sure you got the latency down. I didn't necessarily understand that as a priority at the time. I thought 30-second or minute delay would be perfectly fine if it were broadcast. But I think I now agree with you that the very low latency makes it feel like we're sharing this moment. And And it's funny, the responses on Periscope seem really emotional. They like we're all here together.
Yeah. I think it's really important for the broadcaster or the performer, if you will, to feel connected to their audience. You see this in other with other metaphors too. Whether you're on the stage, it's really important for a performer to feel their audience. And the challenging thing about broadcasting live is it's fucking scary, right? Like, you're literally on stage and hundreds or thousands of people, or even tens of people are watching you. And we thought that in order to make that experience something that a lot of people could do, not just the expert performers, was how can you make them really feel their audience? And that's why the latency, that's why the hearts, that's why the comments are really important, because you can hear from your audience, you can get their thoughts, you can react to them really quickly. If Periscope was 60 seconds delayed, then your pediatrician comments on your broadcast and it takes them a minute to hear back from you, and it doesn't feel very two-way. So that's why it was a priority for us.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I really love the way the interaction becomes live and just feels like we're all here. I love it as a broadcaster too. It just feels, a lot less lonely than a tweet does sometimes. Right? It feels like I'm actually sharing an experience. I mean, you remember back during the beta period, our kid's fish died. Drama llama. And I went to Periscope to ask advice on whether we should tell our kids the truth or what. It was incredibly compelling conversation. People had some deep thoughts on it. But then when we finally held the funeral / celebration of Drama Llama's life, there were a couple hundred people there on the beach with us. Yeah. Dude, Kobe Bryant was there. I mean, it was surreal. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
It felt really comforting to have that kind of community there.
I think he must have been the most appreciated fish to ever live.
Yeah, that very well could be.
You should pitch that as a
sequel to Finding
Nemo.
Yeah. I mean, like if a gorilla in the zoo dies, like big funerals, people have that emotional attachment. But I've never heard that for a fish.
Yeah.
I think you're right. So let me ask you, what's been the biggest surprise in this whole experience? Like, what have you been blown away by, or just you didn't expect out of the content or the platform itself?
We were definitely surprised by how quickly Periscope spread around the world, like just in discovering different parts of the world where Periscope was being used by. For example, we had no idea that we'd have a ton of users in Turkey. Like, Turkey is one of our top countries right now. And so we open up our internal dashboards and we see like all these, pulsing dots on the map around Turkey, and we're like, wow, like we literally built something that people in Turkey love using, or people in the UAE love using. And we just never would have, like, conceptually we understand that like there are devices in all these countries and you can download them, but we never really expected that days after launching this, we'd have people from all around the world using it to the extent that they're using it right now. I'd say that, and just all the creative use cases we've seen. Like, we were in beta long enough to understand some different use cases, like the fact that you took your fish with your family onto the ocean to do a celebration of life was a surprising use case. But now that so many people are using the platform, at least a half a dozen times a day, we're just like in awe of what we're seeing, including some of the recent stuff. Like, there's some really sensitive and crazy things that are happening in Baltimore in the last couple of days, and seeing whether they're journalists or whether they're just people who happen to be on the ground, sharing with the world what they're seeing. It's been really heart-pounding watching a lot of that content. So I'd say those have been the most surprising.
Yeah, there's something just amazingly unique about being right there on the ground, where in these conflicts where you can just see there's still tear gas in the air, and there's actually a hint of danger. I mean, I forget the user's name who's been in Crimea and the Ukraine, reporting from war-torn places. Is just surreal. There's just we would never see that otherwise. So, it's okay. There's obviously lots of questions, and what's funny is a bunch of them are product suggestions, and I lob you product suggestions. Everyone lobs you product suggestions, and so there's a couple thoughts on that. One is, the very best products I've ever worked with, everybody has a suggestion on how to improve it because they care so much.
Yeah.
So is that the feeling you get, like, here at the office? I mean, everybody has the idea on how to make Periscope so much better. Do you get? Is that how you guys receive that kind of energy from folks here?
You mean feedback from the outside world?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we take all of the feedback we hear from the standpoint of, it's always great when someone cares about the product enough that they want to see more out of it, I think that's a good place to come from, and it's certainly motivating for us. So yeah, I mean, we, aside from every once in a while you get a pretty aggressive tweet from someone who's demanding something, and we like to remind ourselves and remind other people that we're doing the best we can to build a free product that you can use. But we, I mean, we get a ton of suggestions, and it's fantastic because people are using the product. They clearly like it and they're passionate about it, and they just want to see us do more. And that's like a good place. That's a good source of motivation for us.
So how long is the list of features that you guys are working on that are forthcoming? I mean, it's rare that I would throw something at you that you guys, where your response isn't already, it's on the list, man, it's coming. Well, first of all, how big is the team here?
So we are now 13 people.
How many people were here like a month ago?
There were 7 people a month ago. When we were acquired in January, there were 5 of us. So we've grown really quickly.
So it's amazing to see. I mean, as someone who invests in a lot of startup companies, with global aspirations, rarely do people hit global scale with a team under 20.
Yeah.
And so that's what's amazing, I think, for me, is just how much you guys have accomplished in a pretty tough problem, like moving all of this video around the world with super low latency, as well as balancing profiles and commenting and abuse and tools and follow graphs and stuff like that. It's pretty intense considering the relatively small scale of the team.
Totally. That's a testament to the team. I really just believe that we have collected the smartest and best group of people to work on this this problem, this opportunity, and it's unbelievable. Like we need to remind ourselves, I think, how hard this space is, and I think the team has just done an amazing job to come as far as we've come in the time, and frankly, like for us, it's about the long haul, because there's so, like, we look at what we've built and we're proud of it, but we just constantly see all the other areas that we want to have, all the other things that we want to build, and to do that, you need to have an awesome team that's motivated by the same thing, working towards the same goal.
So as a CEO, I mean, so we've got a lot of entrepreneurs in here. My audience has a lot of founders, a lot of people building their own stuff. So as a CEO of a startup, and even though you've been acquired by Twitter, to clarify, we're here at a completely separate office space from Twitter. They will lend you some resources and give you advice and help you with integration stuff, but you are running this company basically autonomously still. The product and everything is driven here. So as the CEO, how do you begin to prioritize what to work on next? You've got a very limited number of people building the product. You've got quite literally dozens and dozens of things need to get done. How do you decide what to have the team work on next?
Well, I think it's really important for us to remind ourselves of what like the big milestones are and what the big fundamental things that we want to exist in the product are, because it's easier to do that when you're in beta and you don't have a lot of external pressures. It's really just your motivation, your ideas, and your brainstorming that goes into, here's what our V1 should be. But once we go live, which we've done, you still have that, but you have all these other external pressures. And some of those are just ideas from our friends, our beta users, our actual user community. Some of it is just reactionary to inevitable problems that come up, because when you grow as much as we did in the first couple weeks or in the first month, all kinds of things go wrong, and you have to focus a lot of attention on fixing those things and then future-proofing to make sure those types of things don't happen again. So the challenge becomes sort of prioritizing between those things, and I think it's just a balance. Like we've spent a lot of time addressing a lot of those short-term things that came up to make sure people have smooth, reliable experience, but at the same time we want to make sure that we're thinking about those long-term things, those things that move the needle in terms of like fundamentally empowering users with a tool that didn't really exist before. And we have those ideas, some of which are not like rocket science to build, and some of them are much more challenging, which is why they're longer term projects. But those ideas are the ones that I think really move the needle in terms of like fundamentally what Periscope could be for the world. And for us, it's about finding a balance between those and like the short term, like putting out fires and making sure we're adding features that just should exist that we didn't have time to build. Perfect example being like right now in Periscope, you can't change your name. you can't change your profile picture. A lot of people want to do that. That's like table stakes feature that we should have that we just didn't prioritize for V1. It doesn't represent like a fundamental like shift in how people think of Periscope, but it just ought to exist. So there's sometimes you got to balance between those two poles, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
Right on, man. So first of all, you're getting lots and lots of hearts. People love talking with you here. So
Awesome.
I appreciate those.
Are those
too.
hearts for me or for you?
We'll share them, okay? I'll give you some when we're done.
We should build a hearts timeshare feature.
And there's been a lot of comments like, "Thank you, this is great." I think a lot of people are comforted by the autonomy from Twitter. And that comes with, working with a company that big and that successful can be incredibly helpful. They have resources that you want. They have some of the best engineers in the world. On the other hand, they have process, they have meetings, they have committees, and I toured your office. It's all on one floor, and most of the team was sitting in one room right now. And so it's, you're able to just push and get stuff out, and your release cycle has been great. And so I think for people in those situations, it is possible to do M&A like that. And I think sometimes those are the best acquisitions,
Definitely.
Frankly, the Instagram team has done a good job, I think, of staying autonomous within Facebook and have just continued to innovate there.
Right.
So the question that comes up time and again on the web, it doesn't come up here because everybody who's watching and commenting here has an iPhone. Wait, you know what? I'm going to take a break from the action to introduce. Who's this?
Scotch break.
By the way, Scotch is just...
This is
heart bait right here.
This is our office pup. He's actually our chief canine officer. One of the most senior positions in the company. He adds a lot of value when he's not sleeping, which is 8 hours a day. Scotch, say hi to Periscope.
Hi. Hey, Scotch. How you doing? All right.
He likes your cowboy shirt.
For those who are maybe watching on the web, you really want to get close to this phone. For those who are watching on the web, what comments are you ready to make about any impending Android version?
Well, before I mention Android, since you brought up web, for those of you watching on the web, you'll be thrilled to know that later today you will have a more full-featured web experience. So you already have hearts on the web. Later today you'll have comments on the web as well.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
I didn't know
you
that.
Went for
I'm
Android,
not feigning
web.
surprise. That's actual news.
That's actual news. Yeah.
Is this an exclusive?
This is an exclusive. This is a Chris Sacca live broadcast exclusive.
Look, we got a fab. Yeah, nice. Somebody said, "Aye." That's amazing.
Yeah.
Janina says, "I love that he's saying today." Right? That's the pace at which a startup can work. And I think that's hard to do in a big company sometimes. I think that's fantastic. So, okay, so let's Android.
Android.
Were you avoiding the question? Were you?
I'm not avoiding the question. I was giving you an order of when it's going to be out today, which is our baseline.
That's amazing. A release today is amazing.
Right.
Okay.
I could have said while we were still live, but that might be a little bit aggressive.
Yeah.
We are working very hard on Android. There's 3 people downstairs who are dedicated to building an amazing, beautiful Android experience. We're very close. Unfortunately, we're not releasing today, but you won't have to wait too long. We have working prototypes. If I had my Android in my pocket...
Is there like that's what I was just going to ask you. Is there Android in somebody's pocket right now?
Tell you what, if one of the Periscope folks on the team is watching this broadcast right now, if you guys can grab my Android device from my desk and bring it up, we might even be able to give a sneak peek.
A double exclusive?
Double exclusive.
Amazing, man.
There's a good chance Sarah is watching right now, so maybe
one engineering prioritization question. Why iOS first? I see that a lot. I get asked that a lot. I have to, our startups wrestle with that question sometimes. I mean, particularly for a company with such global ambition, Android would seem like the platform with the penetration with broader user base. So why do you go iOS? What's the advantage?
It's a good question. There's a very simple answer. Our expertise was iOS. I mean, our team was. Oh, there she is.
What's going on? You want to say hi?
Hi.
Guys, this is Sarah.
Sarah's a legend, among other things.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you,
Sarah,
too.
where were you working before here?
I was working at Secret.
Yeah, but where were you working before that?
Working at Vine.
And where were you working before that?
I was working at Twitter.
Amazing. So, a legend, kick-ass engineer. And is Android your specialty?
It's become my specialty.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared to come and sit and do an interview though, so I'm gonna leave you to it. But yeah, Android.
Okay.
Android all the way.
I think the community. First of all, you're getting a lot of hearts. But I think the community really wants to thank you because what we're looking at right now is something incredibly special and unique. Can we just show off your work a little bit? Yeah.
How's this?
Thanks for coming up, though.
Yeah. No
Thanks for
worries.
bringing the phone up.
Bye, Sarah.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, you can.
So this is going to be a short preview of the Android app. This is the watch list. So for those of you in the iPhone, this will look very familiar. You've got the watch list, you can see the global feed, and you can see your friends list, and you can click to see your profile here.
So it's a little different. I can see some design nuance and stuff like that. But
yeah, I mean, we obviously believe pretty firmly in like designing for the platform. It's,
Yeah.
we didn't have any interest in just copy pasting our iOS app. Not that you can even do that, but there are a lot of Android paradigms that, from a UI perspective, we wanted to make sure to build. So, for example, you got the material design here, like the Start Broadcast button is a floating icon over here.
Cool.
And a lot of these sort of paradigms are lent and inspired from other Android experiences. But you can open up the broadcast here, and everything's working. You got the hearts, you got the comments, you got the join notifications. You can see the participants. It should all look pretty familiar to folks who are watching. Oops.
That's pretty awesome, man.
So
double exclusive.
Double exclusive.
So we got comments coming to the web today. Android coming soon.
Soon.
Very soon.
I would say
Soon-ish.
between very soon and soon. Given that our
Strong
definition
to
of
very
very
strong.
soon is today, it's not coming very soon.
So when you develop for Android, is there anything you do differently for that platform? I mean, apart from just the back end of the infrastructure, but do you think differently about an Android user than an iOS user, or are they the same user?
Well, I think the users, users are users. They're ultimately customers who want to derive value from the experience that we're trying to build. But the actual capabilities of those users are different because there's a lot of things you can do on Android that you can't do on iOS and vice versa. So there's some really cool things around notifications that we can do on Android, just given the capabilities that are there. And without giving those away specifically, you'll be able to see those and frankly, I think benefit from them in the way that you would kind of just expect as an Android user, because all the best tools that you use on Android probably leverage a lot of these capabilities, and so that's why if we have the same philosophy with iOS. We don't want to just ship something out really quickly. We want to truly build the best thing we can on all the respective platforms, which is the same reason why we build in increments on the web. We could have launched hearts and comments and everything on the web, but we wanted to build them a certain way. We wanted them to be just as beautiful, respective to their medium, as iOS is. And that's why we're taking that approach with Android.
Right on. So I'm looking at comments here. First of all, people are really stoked, even these iPhone users, although somebody just said, please don't compare me to an Android user.
Can't win.
I know. It's such a cultural divide. There's a couple people here who... Oh, by the way, there's another Kayvon who's a founder who wants to grab lunch with you.
What? What's his last name?
Kayvon Olomi, Olomi.
I've seen that Kayvon.
Okay.
What's up, other Kayvon?
Hey, there was a lot of chatter earlier. Bradman TV was in here salting the game a little bit. It seems...
I didn't know Bradman TV has time to watch other broadcasts. He seems to always be
That was
broadcasting.
interesting to me. He was in here, and he obviously had some fans and stuff. But one of the things he asked is, do you guys watch Periscopes here?
Pretty much constantly. I don't think there's a minute of the working day where there isn't at least one Periscope being played. And it's all the random stuff. We're trying to, you understand, we're hungry to find how people are using our platform. So we're always watching Periscopes. I will be in the most random Periscopes with 4 other people, with some random person, streaming from, somewhere. And I might not even speak the language, but I'm just watching because it's really curious and really awesome to see how people are using the product.
I mean, one of the things when we first started talking about who to get using Periscope in the beginning, I was bringing some of the VITs, we call them, very important Twitter users and stuff. And one of the things you had been emphasizing was, how do we make this? Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what were you thinking about in terms of the user base you wanted on Periscope?
Yeah.
What do you want the mix of broadcasters to look like?
It was really important for us to feel like we were building a platform for everyone, not a platform just for celebrities or a platform just for journalists. I think that, that the power of Periscope is that it can democratize live video. It can let anyone share what's happening around them with the world. And likewise, it can let the world see through other people's eyes. And I think to really fulfill that vision, you need to build something that everyone can and wants to use. And if it was just a tool that only celebrities used to broadcast to their fans, it would be really cool for that use case, but it would undersell itself in terms of what else it could do. And so for us, it was really important to make sure in the early days we were getting a well-balanced group of people, some of whom were friends in interesting places, some of whom were celebrities, some of whom were journalists, some of whom were, athletes, and that it was just really important to us. And part of it is also stemming from the reaction of there have been other live video broadcasting platforms. There have been other celebrity broadcasting platforms. And we just wanted to build something that felt more like anyone could use. I want my mom to be able to open Periscope and share what's happening around her with her family and her friends, or I want you to be able to share, Cece's first footsteps with your extended family and have them watch. And I think if you're building something that's too focused, it might not be used for that.
Okay, that's awesome. So tell me some of your, I know you can't really play favorites as the founder of the company with one account over the other, but tell me some of your favorite accounts. Tell me some of the accounts you didn't necessarily expect but have snuck up on you to be great watches. What do you like?
So I think that some of the ones that come to mind are obviously the journalism angle. To me, is personally really fascinating, just because it's top of mind, right? Like Paul Lewis is a Guardian reporter, and he's in Baltimore right now, and he's had some of the most moving broadcasts in the last 24 hours. Just raw journalism at its finest, and he happened to be using Periscope, but I would highly recommend following him. Some of the most entertaining broadcasts I've seen have been comedians. So John Hodgman is hilarious.
Hodgman's amazing.
He's just a total natural.
Yeah.
Well,
his weirdness plays well here.
Totally.
Do you remember his first broadcast when he was? At
the airport.
I got in touch and was like, dude, this is gonna be so good for you. And so he signs up. He's at the airport, but he had laryngitis, and he was on his way to give a show, so he couldn't talk.
Right.
So he wrote out his answers to questions on a cocktail napkin. Legendary.
Yeah.
So
that was one of those use cases where we're like, wow, we never thought someone would do that, but it actually works because it's John Hodgman.
it worked in the first week. Yeah, it was awesome.
Last night, Chris Hardwick, who's a comedian who does the Nerdist show.
Nerdist, yeah.
He did a stand-up routine last night, and he periscoped the whole thing, from walking onto the stage.
I saw it. It was
whole
amazing.
Set. It was amazing. And it was he was interacting with the audience, and he was just holding the camera and just doing an incredible job balancing those two things.
He had the star of Silicon Valley with him on stage too.
Yeah, that was a total no one really addressed it, but it was
CEO of Pied Piper.
Exactly, working on his Wiseman score.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a gentleman. His username is Penguin6 or Penguin X or something like that. He's an expat living in Hong Kong. And every day he just goes and hikes up, I think it's Victoria Peak in Hong Kong, and he just has the most beautiful views. And he talks about, the Hong Kong skyline. And he does this hilarious thing where every once in a while he switches to landscape mode. And as you know, we don't really support landscape mode particularly well right now. So
There's been a fair number of comments about when landscape mode.
We'll get to that. But he warns his audience whenever he goes to landscape modes, and he starts the countdown. He goes, okay, and guys, 3, 2, 1, landscape.
And we'll do that right now. Get everyone sick.
So it's always
I'm bringing it back.
He's one of our favorites. But yeah, landscape mode is also one of those things that, of course, we could have done, but we wanted to just get the product out there. And we do believe that people just use their phones in vertical portrait mode more than they do landscape. But of course, having landscape is something that we should do, and we'll definitely get to that as well.
I got a product question that I asked you a long time ago, but I'm curious for your latest thinking. Janine just said, haha, I'm stealing that 3, 2, 1 and landscape. There's a bunch of Penguin 6 fans here too.
Huge.
So how do you decide to make the default that the camera faces away from you rather than selfie mode?
This is a controversial one.
It is, but it's one of these, as a founder and a CEO, you got to make some strong choices.
So our philosophy on that one, and I appreciate that there may be some strong opinions on this, but our vision is about exploring the world through someone's eyes. It's not about exploring, faces or selfies. And I think that there are countless valuable and important examples of broadcasts that are front-facing, totally, and it's not meant to undersell that, but it was a fundamental decision we made if it starts on the world around you. I think there are a lot of people who are super comfortable being on stage and like talking either about themselves or to an audience, and I think those users have an easy time in Periscope flipping that camera and going into that mode. But for us, starting with the rear-facing camera, I think subconsciously makes Periscope a more usable tool for a wider audience of people who are perhaps more comfortable sharing the world around them than they are sharing themselves. But it's really hard with these philosophies because like there are just so many different use cases and we had to start somewhere. But that was kind of the original thinking that went into it, is we didn't want to build a selfie broadcasting app because those have been tried. We wanted to build a tool we wanted to build a teleportation device. It's what we've always talked about, and I think that's about seeing the world.
Like almost emphatically unanimous agreement with you in the comments on that. A lot of hearts too. I think one of the things I hope people watching are picking up is that when you've got some of the best people in the tech business working on something like this in a startup, features don't tend to be accidental. They tend to be very thoughtful. So like, what kind of discussions, I mean, let's go back to that question I just asked, like front-facing versus selfie mode, etc. Like, what's the process like there? I mean, how often are you talking about that? Is the whole team weighing in on it? You know, are there debates? Are people pounding the table saying we got to do it the other way?
So everything that launched in version 1 of Periscope, we developed over the course of a year. If we were to start from scratch and build Periscope iOS, again, we could build it way faster than a year. So what that means is like a lot of the time that went into building our first version of Periscope were these deliberations. It was these philosophical discussions, these design discussions around what should be in the product, and just as importantly, what shouldn't be in the product. And that's the kind of thing that ends up taking a year, because we built countless versions of Periscope. It wasn't even called Periscope in the first version, and we had to build it, use it ourselves, decide what we loved and what we hated, and then as we slowly kind of continue that process, expand it to larger groups of people. You know, first give it to our friends, then our family, then our investors' friends and their friends and family, and ultimately you get this year's worth of time where you get more and more comfortable philosophically and design-wise with the decisions you've made. And yeah, it's a team effort. I mean, we had, like I said, a 5-person team, and every single person had an opinion, a voice, a conviction, a desire, an idea that wove its way into the product, out of the product, back into the product. Yeah, that's what made it the roller coaster that a startup is. I mean, we didn't know whether Periscope would be successful, and even today it's early days, right? But we knew that we cared about something, and we knew that there are a lot of different ways to approach it, and it just took us a long time to even get comfortable with our first incarnation of what it could be.
So, you know, one of the things I think as someone watching this process through the beta and now is, as thoughtful as it is, it's also very fluid still, right? So you're having active conversations about how to make commenting most useful. I mean, now that you've got this thing available to such a global audience, and you know, we've got people in here who I know, we've got randoms, we've got people who didn't even get the notification, they just found this thing in the global view, they don't even have context for who you are. You know, they're just like,
why is this in my feed?
Somebody said he looks like Uncle Jesse, which is John Stamos' character in Full House. But this is really fluid, and so, you know, I see a bunch of people asking about what's the number of people who can comment before, you know, the room is full. And as I understand it, that's kind of a moving target ultimately. Like, you know, that there isn't necessarily firm religion around that the same way there's religion around 140 characters.
Right.
But
that's, yeah, the broadcast is full feature is not religion, it's practicality. Our view on that was, how many people are in the broadcast right now?
426.
So we believe, and we've tried this, 426 people commenting in the broadcast is pretty overwhelming. There's literally just like, especially with our UI, there would just be text on the screen and you wouldn't be able to read anything. So,
I've had that. They can go by so fast sometimes with 1,000 people or something like that it gets nuts. So,
right.
Yeah.
So again, in the context of our version 1, where we wanted to build a product that could work with 5 people watching a broadcast and Ellen DeGeneres or you or Barack Obama broadcasting to tens of thousands of people watching simultaneously, we had to build an experience that could scale. And one sensible way for us to do that was to say the first X number of people, which right now is around 100, who join can comment, and everyone else can see the comments and see the hearts and can heart, but can't contribute comments purely as like a scale control around making sure it's not overwhelming. But we have other ideas on how we can rethink that functionality to get more people to be able to comment and still not make it overwhelming. All of these things are possible, but it was just one of those like way too much to bite off for V1. But obviously, like we've seen the screenshots on Twitter of the broadcast full. We see it ourselves, and it's something that we have ideas around solving and are thinking about.
Cool. First of all, you're getting lots of shout outs. Zanology has just been sending you lots of love. You got a lot of fans in here. A lot of people who said good answer.
They must be John Stamos fans.
A lot of hearts. Yeah, I think they're just swooning.
They're not looking for me.
It's more about the swooning than the comment, than the content. So there's questions like how many people are using Periscope now? I know you're not really going to get into numbers, but have you been
at least a couple hundred?
At least a couple. Yeah, at least 457. We know that. Yeah. But have you been pleased with the way it's growing? Is this what you expected? Is it better than you expected?
It's way better than we expected. It's yeah, we're really pleased. We're blown away, and it's been so overwhelming that like we've had some sleepless nights making sure our stuff doesn't go down. But we've just been blown away. I mean, the numbers didn't need to be as good as they are for us to be blown away, just because the use cases we've seen, that's the stuff that really matters. I think with startups, with early products like this, you know, numbers are good, numbers are bad, like they go up and down. Like we, like many other people, are just really proud of what we've done so far. We think that the world needs a tool like this, and so I think our passion for the space will transcend how the numbers are looking at the beginning. But that being said, like we've been blown away by the reception to the product.
So let's get back to users who you think are using it well. By the way, Ball Guy Greetings says, great interview, but I'm not crazy about that couch. That is a bold couch, man.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, just we're here in San Francisco, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful setting, man. This is a pretty sweet place to be. How do you feel about getting to work here?
I think we are incredibly lucky. I mean, especially with how hard the team is working, I think it's important to be in a space that is comfortable and that you like, and I think everyone really likes our office. And being in this city, you know, it's home for a lot of us. I was born in the Bay Area. My co-founder Joe was born in the Bay Area. Some of our early team members a lot of them were born in the Bay Area. So we're just really lucky.
That's awesome. Let's talk about some of the users that you think are doing it.
I want to know who your favorite users are.
I got a few. I really like Rene Redzepi.
He's amazing.
He is the chef of the restaurant called Noma in Copenhagen that 4 out of the last 5 years have been voted the best restaurant in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Incredibly thoughtful, inventive guy who's doing the most incredible stuff with natural foods. And he's bringing Periscope right into the kitchen. I mean, he's there with his team planning the menu. He's there when the produce gets delivered, when they haul something out of the ocean.
He's there debriefing with the team after the restaurant's closing.
Yeah, and I mean, the transparency is just unprecedented.
Yeah.
For one of the very, very best restaurants in history.
Yeah.
You know, you think about the culture, how those can be so secretive, etc. I think he's fascinating.
One of my favorite broadcasts of his, he was in a park in Copenhagen, and he was literally just like picking, I don't remember what the vegetable was, but he was picking vegetables from this public park and basically being like, guys, like, this is the season for whatever this vegetable is. If you guys are anywhere in Europe, like, go find these vegetables, go find this plant in your local, like, public garden, and go, like, make it at home. And it was amazing. There was like a couple hundred people watching from all over the world, and he was just giving a little, like, impromptu, cooking lesson from the park.
Yeah, I got to hang with him in Denmark last summer. And he's like, come over to my house, we'll go for a stroll. And as we're strolling, the dude is foraging.
Yeah.
You know, so we're just walking through grassy areas. We're in a former industrial area, and the guy is just reaching down and he's like, taste this. Like, it looks like a weed. And you're like, oh, it's delicious, and we'll use some tonight in the menu. And like, that guy's fascinating. I've been enjoying Tom Green.
Tom Green is amazing. So Tom Green spent some time with us last week.
I saw it.
He,
That dude is fascinating.
Did you hear the story of how we connected?
No.
So Tom Green was broadcasting for the first time like on a Thursday or Friday night. It was a Thursday night, and he was in North Beach, which is the neighborhood I live in San Francisco. And it was like midnight. I was just leaving the office, and one of our engineers stumbled upon this Tom Green broadcast where he was like in a liquor store and like walking to Tony's Pizza in North Beach. And our engineer Joe was like, yo, Tom Green is broadcasting. He's in North Beach. If you're going home, go find him. So I dropped my backpack off at home, and I just went out. I was watching his Periscope, and I went out looking for him on the street.
Oh my god!
And I ran into him, and he was joking in the broadcast, like, "Oh, I'm going to call the Periscope founders and tell them to implement landscape mode, because whenever I do this, it's confusing." So I ran into him on basically the same corner that he was broadcasting from, and I was like, "Tom, co-founder of Periscope." And he was like, "No way." And so we started talking, and
Peristalking, as people call it.
Peristalking. That's good. I like that. Sorry to have started that trend. So anyway, we invited him over to the office, and he came the next day. He did a Periscope from here. He's been so creative on Periscope. Like, he's had some of the most interesting, like, interactive humor on Periscope, where he found a box in the middle of North Beach, like literally in the middle of the street. He got in the box and was periscoping from this like standing box in the middle of the street. And passerbys would notice him and be like, "Do you need help?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, can you take my phone?" And he'd give him Periscope, and they would just like Periscope in the middle. It was just the most bizarre, like, interactive comedy.
I mean, I used to watch his show back in the day, and that was it. He pushed boundaries and discomfort. Yeah. Like, it was just amazing. It's
his
so
humor
creative, that guy.
is very adaptable to Periscope. It's great.
One of the broadcasts I caught was before he was doing his show in North Beach. He just turned it on. He had his cup of espresso, and he just kept stirring it, and then stirring a little bit more, and then stirring a little bit more, and you're kind of waiting for the payoff, and it was just like 2 minutes of stirring.
Yeah,
it's fantastic, dude.
Some of my favorite broadcasts thematically are ones that are super interactive in creative ways. So I don't remember the username offhand, but someone was playing basically Wheel of Fortune, but the paper version on Periscope, where they had a sentence, and they had like the whole Wheel of Fortune grid drawn, and viewers were guessing letters, or like you could buy vowels and guess letters, and he would, fill in the grid as you guess correctly. And there's probably 10 people in this broadcast. I just literally stumbled upon it, and I actually guessed the sentence correctly, and it was like the most rewarding feeling of, I was like playing this interactive game with a few other people, and it was like competitive but bi-directional, and it was just amazing. And that to me was another one of those examples of, I never assumed that none of us assumed that people would use Periscope to play interactive like board games via like video. It's unbelievable.
So a few people are mentioning their favorites. So somebody said there was once a girl in the dark singing the comments she was receiving. That sounds totally awesome.
That's great.
I mean, I've loved seeing people just put the camera down as they play the piano, so you just see their hands dancing all over the keys.
Yeah.
My business partner Matt Mazzio plays a game called Bullshit or Not, where he reads off startup names and descriptions, and then you have to guess whether that's a real company or not, which is really hard in today's environment. Yeah. I've liked Questlove. I think he has been fantastic. The way he just brings Periscope into the studio when he's working on beats at the most frustrating moments. Like, he gets pissed off and he turns off Periscope, or he'll take it as he's DJing a big party, and you're just there, so you're hearing the music, but you're also in the DJ stand with him, and you're getting these experiences that you wouldn't get. Oh yeah, Cover Cash just mentioned Mazzio also plays Drunk Charades, which are pretty amazing.
Mazzio gelling his hair in the morning on Periscope. Great.
Mazzio with the hair.
Deadmau5 taking delivery of his McLaren in Canada. That was pretty cool.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
He
was literally periscoping the McLaren coming off the truck in his driveway.
I've loved Commander Hadfield.
Oh my god.
So, I mean, I've been a fan of his. I saw him at a breakfast buffet in Vancouver. Randomly, I was like, dude, you gotta see the new thing.
Yeah.
And got him dialed in. He must have scoped, on his first day, he must have scoped 10 or 12 times.
Yeah, starting from brunch with his family in the morning.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And he played Major Tom on the guitar from his living room while also showing us all space paraphernalia. I mean, just moments like that are amazing. Who's that guy in France, the ballet?
Benjamin Millepied?
Yeah.
Benjamin Millepied, yeah. He's the director of the Paris Ballet. and he has been showing us behind the scenes of Black Swan, I guess. And just like these unbelievable vantage points where you can see these amazing performers doing ballet, just from an angle that you wouldn't expect to see, like during the show or during practice.
He walks really around that room with the archways, circular. It's just, that's totally wild to me. Euro Maestro, have you seen him?
I have not.
Oh, by the way, Janina just pointed out that he's Mr. Natalie Portman. I didn't realize that. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I was unaware. Right on. Let's see. Lots of questions. I mean, there's people. I mean, one of the things I'm blown away by, you talked earlier about like how many users there are in places like Turkey and the UAE, but I'm just blown away by how widely distributed the users are completely. So even just apart from concentrations, because one of the things that does happen with social stuff is like, you know, an app will blow up in Indonesia, but nobody in the Philippines will use it.
Right.
Or like in the Philippines, Friendster's big right now, and you know, and people in Japan don't use Friendster or something. But when I ask everyone where they're from, you know, it's mind-blowing the diversity of places they're watching from, right? And there'll be someone from Somalia, and you're just like, holy cow, this person in Somalia is staying on the beach with me in LA right now. But I have, I didn't expect that right off the bat. You know, we certainly didn't have that with Twitter in the earliest days. We had Americans kind of going to some of these places, but not here. So, all right, I actually have to get going because I got to do CNBC a little bit later today. You got to get going because you've got to build and ship an Android version.
Got some things to do.
You've got a list of a bunch of features. I just want to say thanks to everybody who hung in here. There's still 420 people here. Lots and lots of hearts. This won't be our last interview with Kayvon, but dude, we got the double exclusive. We got comments coming to the web and an Android version. People love you, man. Keep up the great job, Kayvon and team. I love the product.
Thanks, guys.
Please replay this. Okay, I think I have enough battery left to upload it. Thanks, guys. Awesome from Periscope Junkie. That's a hell of a handle.
Nice.
Periscope Junkie. Yeah.
Squatted that one.
Love. Android hells yeah. That's great to hear from an iPhone user. Thanks,
like
Periscope team. Periscope is the future. Lots of hearts.
Thanks,
I love
guys.
the emoji support. Twitter hit a grand slam with Periscope. Say hi to Tom Green.
What's up, Tom Green? He's not actually in it. Someone else.
And it is funny. There is just a torrent of bye.